Hello, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to see which is the best cold press celery juicer. Alright, let's talk about the differences between these two cold press juicers. This one is the AMZChef cold press juicer, and this is one of the best selling on Amazon, which says a lot. But this one is the Omega MM900, which is at a higher price point, but it has been recommended time and time again as the best celery juicer. So what I want to do, I've always wondered, does it make a difference on the price? Do you really get that much more celery juice, battery celery juice with this one that is at a higher price point, or does it not really matter and you can save some money and get this AMZChef juicer and kind of get the same results? Just to give an idea of the price point difference, this one is about a third of the price as this one. So what I have laid out here is I have 8 celery stalks. I tried to pick ones that were comparable. There's one small one on this side, one small one on this side. So they're pretty comparable. They're about the same size. So we have 8 here and 8 here. I feel like that's a good amount of celery to yield enough celery juice to really be able to tell a difference if there is one. I will say that right here there is a specific celery attachment here for this Omega juicer. What this does is typically you're just going to use it like this if you're juicing anything else, but when you're using celery, you put this little celery insert in here and it basically stops the stalk from coming out as quickly just to get a little bit more juice out of it before the pulp exits right here. All right, so I'm going to put this in. I'm just going to screw it on. Okay, and I feel like the real test is going to be how dry the pulps are, because that really goes to show how much liquid is being left over and is not being utilized in your celery juice. So let's talk about the basic differences of these two. You definitely can feel that this one is a higher quality product than this one. You can tell that there's a little bit more plastic in here. It's maybe not as secure. I'm just barely moving both of these and this Omega juicer is not going anywhere. You can see this Omega juicer is pretty heavy versus this AMZChef is not as heavy. So let's just talk about the other basic differences that you can visually see here. This one has definitely a larger food tray up here versus the AMZChef one. And then this is the damper on the AMZChef versus the damper on the Omega juicer. So just a little bit different there. I feel like all that's left to do is to go ahead and juice some celery. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and turn them both on. They are pretty comparable as far as noise goes. I don't know if you can tell, this one has a little bit of a different sound than this one. They're pretty comparable noise-wise. So let's start with, I can't do them at the same time, but I'm gonna stick one in here. You can tell that this one's a little bit stronger. So I've put 2 celery stalks in each one, and you can see the pulp has already come out of this one, and I haven't had any pulp come out of the Omega juicer yet. Sometimes this AMZChef has a little bit of residual celery left as it's feeding through, and you can see there's no residual in this one. All right, so we finally have some pulp that just started to come out. I am 7 celery sticks down, and I'm 7 celery sticks down on this one as well. You can see the pulp difference. All right, so I'm gonna put the last celery stalk in and we will evaluate. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and turn these off. All right, so I have 3 testing points. It's going to be the yield, how much celery juice there is, how much foam there is, and then how much pulp there is and how dry the pulp is and everything. So those are the 3 things that we're gonna be looking at. So I'm gonna take the juice first. I have 2 cups that are exactly the same glasses here, same size, and I'm gonna pour both of these celery juice in here. This is the celery juice from AMZChef, and this is the celery juice from the Omega Juicer. All right, here it goes. Okay, wow, impressive. That is very interesting to me. I will say, as far as foam on top, there really isn't foam on either. I don't know if you can tell. There's not a significant amount of foam. Like a centrifugal juicer, you're gonna notice a significant amount of foam on top. This is just kind of bubbles. I wouldn't really call that foam. I'm really surprised at the difference. I thought maybe there'd be a lot more foam on the cheaper juicer, but there really isn't that much of a difference. So the very obvious thing here is that the Omega Juicer did make more celery juice for the same amount of celery in both juicers, so I find that really interesting. As far as pulp getting into the celery juice, just from my naked eye here, I'm not really seeing any pulp in either of these glasses, which is a good sign. So you are getting roughly the same quality of celery juice from both of these. There is just more. You are getting more celery juice for your amount of celery with the Omega Juicer. Okay, let's move on to the pulp. Okay, so let's dump out the pulp from both of these. I'm just gonna pull this out. It's just kind of sticking there. Okay, so that all the pulp that was sticking out. So the pulp difference here, there's definitely a lot more pulp from the AMZChef Juicer versus the Omega, as you can see here. And I'm gonna dump these out so that we can get a better look. So there's no more left in here. So first I'm going to start off with the Omega Juicer pulp. I don't know if you can tell, but this is very, very dry. Can you see this here? I'm ripping it apart and there's no juice dripping from it. It's very dry, like my fingertips are not wet at all. So, I mean, I feel like you can tell this is not wet at all. Okay, let's go over here to the AMZChef pulp. You can hear that is wet when I squeeze it. I am getting a couple of drops down here. So it does have some moisture in it, definitely. Okay, I feel like we've learned almost all there is to know. I'm just gonna go ahead and take a taste of both of them just to make sure there's no difference. I'm sure there's not. So AMZChef. Tastes like celery juice. That was the Omega one. These did come from the same stalks of celery, so they should taste about the same. This one might be just a slight amount of more bitter. I don't know if that even makes sense. I don't know how, but it completely could have just been the different celery stalks in the package. So overall, I am very impressed. I did not think there was gonna be this much of a difference. I was all for just getting the cheaper one if that's what you're gonna do, but I will say it definitely depends on what you are going to be using your cold press juicer for. If you are going to be occasionally juicing celery juice or occasionally using your cold press juicer, it makes sense to just go with the cheaper one. But if you're gonna be juicing celery juice every single day like we do in our family, it definitely would benefit to get this Omega juicer. It just yields so much more celery juice. If you're buying celery every day, every week, you're using it every day, it really does make a difference if you're yielding more celery juice versus less at a cost point. So overall, if you're going to be juicing celery juice every day like we do in our family, I would highly recommend making the investment on buying this Omega juicer. It just yields so much more juice, especially if you're gonna be doing it on a daily basis. So I'm gonna go ahead and leave a link in the description down below for both of these juicers so you can get more information on them. If you found this little comparison helpful, please give this video a thumbs up and consider subscribing for more. Thanks for watching. Bye!